In the middle of the ocean lies a mysterious island that has raised many questions over the years, and yet, something, or someone, left behind a lifeboat there. But there was no sign of life, no footprints, no explanation. Who, or what, landed on Bouvet Island, and why did they vanish without a trace? In this video we'll discover what's behind this desolate place, and why scientists were shocked to discover the reality behind this mysterious island. Stay, because I will reveal information never seen before. Welcome to Bouvet Island, a place that doesn't just lie in the middle of nowhere, it defines nowhere. Located in the southern Atlantic Ocean, about 1,700 kilometers from Antarctica, and 2,600 kilometers from South Africa, Bouvet is officially the most remote uninhabited island on the planet. It's a jagged chunk of volcanic rock, rising dramatically out of the sea, often cloaked in thick fog, battered by massive waves and completely surrounded by glaciers and cliffs. There's no dock, no natural harbor, no trees, no permanent wildlife, and definitely no people. Yet this lonely island has become the epicenter of a mystery that has baffled governments, scientists, and conspiracy theorists for decades. The island was first spotted in 1739 by French explorer Jean-Baptiste Bouvet de Lozier, who barely managed to glimpse it through the Antarctic mist. Then it vanished from maps. Literally, cartographers lost it. For nearly a century, Bouvet Island was a ghost on sea charts. It wasn't rediscovered until 1808, and even then, no one could agree on its exact location. Some believed it was a mirage, others thought it was cursed. It wasn't until 1927 that Norway claimed the island and named it a dependency, despite having no population and no foreseeable use. In fact, the only reason it has any human footprint at all is because Norway installed a tiny automated weather station there in the late 20th century. Even that barely lasted. So, why does any of this matter? Because in 1964, an unmarked lifeboat was discovered on this supposedly inaccessible island, and nobody has ever figured out how it got there. Back on April 2, 1964, a British team aboard a Royal Navy vessel, the HMS Protector, approached Bouvet Island for a routine survey mission. It wasn't easy, the waters were brutal, the ice was unforgiving, and visibility was near zero. Approaching the island meant dodging floating glaciers, dealing with hurricane-force winds, and scaling cliffs slick with ice. But when they finally managed to get a small crew onto the island, what they found stopped them cold. There, half buried in the black volcanic sand, was a lifeboat. It wasn't from any known vessel in distress. It wasn't Norwegian, British, or from any nation that had recently explored the area. It was just there. Even more chilling. There were oars nearby and a drum marked with fresh water, suggesting someone, or several people, had once been aboard. But there were no bodies, no footprints in the snow, no signs of a struggle, no wreckage nearby, and no official distress calls had ever been received from that region. Whoever had arrived at Bouvet Island had vanished. Completely. Since that discovery, dozens of theories have emerged. But honestly, the more you dig into them, the less sense they make. Was it a shipwreck? Possible, until you realize that no ships had been reported missing in that region. The oceans near Bouvet are heavily monitored due to whaling routes and Antarctic research vessels. There were no survivors, no alerts. Could it have been a military operation gone wrong? A Cold War incident, perhaps? Some speculate the Soviets or even the CIA were involved in secret missions around Antarctica, possibly using Bouvet as a staging ground. But there's zero declassified evidence pointing to military activity on Bouvet in the 1960s. Maybe it was just a drifting lifeboat that somehow landed there with a small crew who tried to survive. But Bouvet is, virtually impossible to reach without GPS or modern navigation, and back in 1964, that kind of technology just didn't exist for civilian craft. The island is ringed with cliffs, and honestly the odds of drifting accidentally into one of the few possible landing zones is astronomically low. And even if they did make it ashore, where did they go? Now, here's where it gets even stranger. In 1955, the South African government tried to set up a meteorological station on Bouvet Island. They built this small hut and left behind some basic supplies and equipment. But when a follow-up mission showed up less than a year later, the hut was just gone. No traces, no remnants, just scorched ground where it had been. It's almost as if the island rejected any attempt at human presence. Could the lifeboat have belonged to, like, an undocumented expedition trying to continue that effort? If so, why was there no record? Why didn't South Africa report missing personnel? Why didn't Norway, who actually owns the island, intervene? In 1979, a United States satellite equipped with sensors to detect nuclear detonations recorded a mysterious double flash in the South Atlantic. The phenomenon was identical to the signature of an above-ground nuclear explosion. It occurred just north of Bouvet Island. No country has ever admitted responsibility. The event, now known as the Vela incident, remains one of the Cold War's most enduring mysteries. Some suggest it was a covert joint test between Israel and South Africa. Maybe a tactical nuclear weapon detonated in secret. Others claim the test didn't come from either of those nations at all. In fact, some theorists believe the blast was underground, beneath Bouvet Island itself. But what could they have been trying to destroy, or uncover? Could the double flash have been a failed attempt to collapse, or seal off something hidden below the island? To this day, no radiation has been officially detected in the area, and no debris was found, but critics argue, well, that's exactly what you'd expect from a cover-up. Then, in 1997, NOAA, the United States National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, recorded a bizarre underwater sound unlike anything ever heard before. It was so loud, it was actually picked up by sensors over 3,000 miles apart. They named it the Bloop. The sound originated not far from Bouvet Island. While some attributed it to ice shifting, possibly ice quakes from glaciers, other experts weren't convinced. The sound's frequency was organic, more like a living creature than tectonic activity, and if it was an animal, well, it would have to be larger than anything known to science. Cryptozoologists immediately drew connections to Lovecraftian creatures and ancient leviathans, but skeptics dismissed these claims. Still, what are the odds that one of the loudest unexplained underwater sounds in history just happened to emerge near the most inaccessible and mysterious island on Earth? In online forums, Bouvet Island has achieved near-mythical status. Some believe it houses a hidden research facility, possibly alien, possibly human. Others claim Nazi Germany used it as a fallback base after World War II, escaping there with advanced technology. But a few go even further, suggesting that the island is not entirely natural. They believe it could be the plug of an ancient entrance to a hollow Earth. Wild? Definitely. Impossible? We don't know, because almost no one has ever been there, and those who have, didn't stay. But here's where the mystery grows deeper. In 2003, Norwegian scientists conducted a new survey of Bouvet using advanced remote sensing. What they discovered was deeply unsettling. A vast cave system beneath the surface carved into the ice and rock, deep, unstable, and untouched by human exploration. Some of these caves stretch further than sensors could safely map. They were left uncharted. Think about that. In the 21st century, with satellites and drones, we still have no idea what lies beneath Bouvet Island. And perhaps, that's not an accident. Today, Bouvet remains closed to the public. Officially, it's a nature reserve. Unofficially, it's off-limits. Very few expeditions are allowed, and those that are must follow some pretty extreme protocols. Some suggest it's because of environmental fragility. Others believe it's because someone, or maybe something, doesn't want us getting too close. And perhaps the greatest mystery is this: why, after all this time, is no one investigating? In an age where, billionaires go to space, why is this place still untouched? Bouvet doesn't give up its secrets easily, but sometimes the silence speaks volumes. If you thought this was chilling, wait until you see what scientists discovered beneath the Antarctic ice, where something moved that shouldn't exist.